Welcome to my channel where I bring you lampworking tutorials and demonstrations. Today I'm going to show you how to make a vortex pendant and try to ignore the reflection there, but it'll turn out similar to this one here. Alright, let's go ahead and do it. For tools today, I'll be using a couple of rods of clear glass for punnies, my graphite pad, my graphite paddle, my L marver, my marble molds, my graphite reamer, and my tweezer set. And I am doing a 3-color vortex today, so as far as glass goes, you're going to want a rod of jet black, a rod of caramel, and a rod of unobtainium, all pre-pulled into stringers. You will also want an unpulled rod of jet black and approximately a 12mm rod of clear glass. Getting started here, you are going to want to go ahead and just start with a nice big bushy flame. I am starting off using both the inner and outer flame on my torch here. And I'm going right in with that 12mm rod, and I'm just going to go ahead and start melting myself a nice gather. I would say I'm going for approximately 1 inch to 1.25 inches in diameter on the gather that I'm going to be starting out with here. Once I'm happy with that gather, I'm just going to go in at a direct angle and hit that gather with my L marver to create a nice little cone shape. If you don't have an L marver, you can also get the same effect by using your graphite paddle at a 90-degree angle with your graphite pad. Here you can see what that nice little cone looks like, so that's definitely what we're going for. I'm going to give that a quick polish with my flame, and then I'm dropping down to my inner flame to begin striping on my stringers here. And basically, I'm just going to start going around the outside of that cone and alternating between my 3 different colors here. I may not alternate every single line. I might decide to go ahead and do 2 or 3 lines of one color before moving on to the next one. But it is important to make sure that the top of each color makes it all the way to the tip of that cone and stretches all the way to the edge of your cone where it starts to kind of fold back in. And I'm going to just keep going around until I've completely covered the entire outside of that cone. And just a note on colors here, I chose to do 3 different colors for this vortex, but you can do any number of colors. You really could just do 2. You could go up to really as many colors as you can fit on your cone. You just want to make sure when you're selecting colors for a vortex that you pick some good colors that are going to have really nice contrast, because if your colors are too similar, then you do tend to easily lose your design. But you can see here, I'm basically just continuing to lay down some more stripes, and this is the longest part of this process, so just be patient, make sure you're getting good coverage, make sure you're laying down, nice even lines. And take your time here, as the way you lay down this color will ultimately decide how nicely your vortex turns out. All right, and just finishing up here. And here you can see kind of what that cone should look like. So you can see all my colors reach all the way up to the tip of the cone and down to the base. It doesn't have to be perfectly even or symmetrical at this point, as long as you have good coverage. And here you can see I'm just going in with my tweezers and just closing up any little gaps I might notice, just to make sure I don't have any holes in my final vortex. So now I'm bumping back up to my outer flame, and I'm going to go ahead and just blast those colors to get them fully melted in and looking nice and even. So basically I'm just going for everything to be nice and flush and even, and then I'm going in with a punty and I'm going to go ahead and attach that to the very tip of the cone. You do want to be careful with your punty fuse here, because if there is any clear glass left over when you remove that punty, it can interfere with the final design. So you can see I've got a good attachment here, so I'm going to go ahead and just stick that right back into my flame. And basically what I'm going for here is just to slowly start twisting that vortex. So I'm concentrating the heat on the widest part of the cone so that I can get the whole design to twist. Now you do want to make sure that you have a good amount of twisting going on here, but you also don't want to over twist the design, as that can cause the colors to all kind of bleed together and cause you to kind of lose your vortex. So now that I'm satisfied with that twist, I just pulled that punny off the back, and now I'm just melting that in so I can begin the process of shaping the pendant. So I'm basically just alternating between saturating the heat and using my marble molds to shape the back of the pendant. I like to use marble molds rather than using my graphite pad for shaping the back of a vortex specifically, because it gives you better optics if you leave a nice curve on the back of the piece. So you don't want to flatten it too much, but I do tend to start out by using my smaller marble molds and then gradually graduating up to the larger marble molds to just ensure I'm still getting a nice open face looking pendant, but do still have that slight curve to the back. So once I'm happy with the shape here, I'm going to go ahead and just give that piece a polish and then go in with another punny here. And again, I do want to be careful with this punny fuse just to make sure I'm not leaving any clear glass behind when I remove it. And I'm going to go ahead and just use my flame to cut the 12mm rod off the front. And I'm going to use my tweezers just to go ahead and pull some additional extra glass off the front of the piece here. You can see when I cut my rod, it left behind just a little bit more than I think I need. So just pulling that right off. And once I have the amount of glass that I'm looking for, I'm going to go in with my graphite paddle and just use that to shield the heat from the back of the piece while I go ahead and saturate the front of the pendant to melt the extra glass in and make sure everything is nice and rounded and even. And I am also going to use my marble molds to help just keep everything nice and open and shape the front of the pendant as well. A good way to think about this is you're kind of trying just to create a nice open window with your clear glass, since you're kind of creating this cool optical effect where you're ultimately going to be looking through that clear glass to the design on the back of the pendant to create a nice optical lens. And you could kind of see there how that vortex design is coming along. So I'm just continuing to shape and giving everything a nice polish. And then at this point, I'm ready to go ahead and decide which way I think the pendant should face, what part of the design I want the loop to be attached to, and where I want the bottom to be. So I'm going to go ahead and heat up another punny here, and I'm going down to my inner flame for this portion. So I'm just cleaning up that punny, and then I'm going to attach that opposite to where I would like my loop to go. And here's another little peek inside so you can see how that vortex is looking here. And again, I'm just picking which way I want to be up, attaching that pendant, removing that one from the back. And I do want to be careful here if there's any clear glass. I just want to get it off there with my tweezers and maybe use a little rod to pick any additional clear glass. It does definitely mess with the design if there's any clear glass left on there, so I am very careful to make sure I'm removing any. And then I'm just using my paddle just to even out any little lumps or bumps on the back there. And once I'm happy with the shaping and the look of the back of the pendant, I'm going to go ahead and go in with that jet black rod and begin creating my pendant loop. And I'm going to go ahead and just really speed through this part just because I do have another video that goes really in depth on loop making. So if that's something you're interested in or a video that you might need, I do recommend checking out my loop making video for a much more detailed explanation of how to make a good pendant loop. And as I'm finishing things up here, as always, I am going to go ahead and put the link to my Etsy store on the screen here, and I will also add it in the description below, just in case you're interested in checking out my other work or supporting my art. Here you can see I'm wrapping things up. I'm happy with that loop, so I just am pulling that punny off the bottom and giving a quick polish, and this baby is ready for the kiln. So this is the one that I made in the video. And it turned out okay, but honestly, I'm not like super happy with it. I just wish I had twisted it a little more. So I did make another example just to kind of demonstrate the difference. So I'm much happier with the final product on this one here. But I would be super curious, to see if anyone does like this one better, because I think it is a matter of preference, how much you actually want to twist the vortex. So let me know in the comments below if you actually do like that first one better, or if you agree with me that this second one is a lot better. But in any case, don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching.